In this video, we're going to look through some nutrient recycling, which is a key element of the ecology part of our course. We're already aware of how important every single year ecology is. To be specific, nutrient recycling was not asked last year, so it's within a big shout for the 2019 paper. First of all, what is it? It's actually just nutrients being exchanged between living and non-living organisms in an environment. So for example, carbon or hydrogen, and we're also going to look at some nitrogen as well. Within that, we need to know about two cycles. The first one, the carbon cycle, we have it displayed here, but I would just definitely suggest to students that you do not need to know every single detail that's in maybe your book or notes or one you've seen online, because this can go into extreme detail. We only need to know a few. We need to know in general what's going on. So make yourself comfortable with your drawing of your carbon cycle. But what I have here is, I like to set it up like a little clock here. I have CO2, death and decay, animal food, plant food, and then I'll build my answer around that. And what's actually going on, the CO2 in the atmosphere there, due to photosynthesis, gets broken down into plant food. And that plant food can get eaten by animals or can be used as animal food, and then the animals actually respire. Now plants respire as well, and that brings CO2 back into the atmosphere. Plant food or animal food, they can both over a long period of time get under a lot of pressure, turn into a fossil fuel, which then we use for combustion, which then puts CO2 back into the atmosphere again. Or animals and plants could just generally die, and they could be decomposed by decomposers and back into CO2, and that cycle repeats itself again and again and again. I've gotten here photosynthesis, combustion, respiration, decomposition, important for us to know. It's also important for us to know what the functions, they might ask you specifically what the function of bacteria is, or the function of animals or plants. Well, bacteria, well, decomposers. Animals, well, respiration or decay, and plants, photosynthesis. So really, really easy. 3 styles of questions answered in one simple diagram. In terms of the nitrogen cycle, I feel people think it's a little bit more confusing because they're not as comfortable with the ideas in it. But we know nitrogen is extremely important in terms of making proteins for us inside our body. And we also know that the vast majority of the gas around us is nitrogen, but we can't use it. So what actually this cycle does is it converts it from a certain form into a form of nitrogen that living things can use to make proteins. Okay, so if we look at this cycle again, we're going from nitrogen. These nitrogen fixing bacteria, that's key there, that it's fixing. It fixes this nitrogen into a form we can use called nitrates, and plant proteins are then made from that. Plants absorb these nitrates, make proteins. We can eat them, turns into this ammonia, and then nitrifying bacteria or nitrification occurs, turning it back into nitrites. And a lot of times people get a little bit upset about nitrates, nitrites, because a lot of things here are sounding quite similar. But if you think about it, we've got nitrates up here twice. These nitrates can again form plant protein and continue on this cycle, or they can, after being fixed over here, they can be almost like unfixed or denitrified and put back into the atmosphere as normal nitrogen. So these processes, they can ask you, the examiner can ask you this 2 ways. They can talk about bacteria and what types are actually there, but if you actually learn it off this way, again it covers you for 3 types of questions. Drawing this and explaining it, the types of bacteria or the processes. Because look at the 4 that I have up here. We've got again nitrogen fixing bacteria, then we've got actual decay occurring again, and that's from the animal protein to the ammonia. We've the nitrifying bacteria, which are here, so in the process, and denitrifying bacteria, which are here, turning it back into the nitrogen to begin with. Or if they talk about the processes, we've got nitrogen fixation here, we've got the decomposition here, we've got the nitrification here, and then we've got the denitrification here. So if you just learn one of these, it can answer you, kind of a small little adjustment can answer for 3 questions. The ones that I would be concerned with, the past paper questions that I would tell my students to try, are first of all the one from 2013, question 15b, and second of all the one from 2017, question 2. But if you apply the 2017 question where it talks about the nitrogen cycle, you apply those questions to the carbon cycle, I feel you'll be seriously covered and in great shape coming to Leaving Cert.